Welcome back to Stock Talk with Josh and Niko.
Yo.
And the next thing we're going to get started with is Vince is going to tell us some tips and give us some advice on new investors into real estate, whether it's a flipping a property or it's a rental property. Vince is going to help us out with that.
Yeah, Vince, because I'm young and I love watching all the what's the show called? Flipping houses shows.
Yeah.
I love watching those shows, and I want my dream job. My dream is to be one of those one of those people. Now, Vince, how can you please tell me how you can help me do this?
All right. So what I would do if I could turn back time and be 20 years old again, what I would do is look for a multi-unit property.
Okay.
Either 2, 3, or 4-unit property. Any of them will work.
Now that's like a duplex, right?
Duplex,
Okay.
triplex, or a 4-unit.
Okay.
Because those qualify under the federal FHA loans as long as you live in one of the units. So say you buy a 3-unit, you live in the 1-bedroom apartment and you rent out the other 2 that might be 2-bedroom apartments. You can buy that property with 3.5% down. And all those the other people's rents can pay off your mortgage, and then you use that extra money to pay down that note quick.
Okay, now can I ask you, in an area like what we're in, Northwest Indiana, what would be a reasonable price to pay for a duplex?
So I just put an investor under contract on a 2-flat in Michigan City. It's got a 1-bedroom upstairs and a 2-bedroom downstairs, and it's $159,000.
Oh, okay.
So
And so they can put down 3.5%.
they can
for that?
put down 3.5% as long as they're living in one of the 2 units. So
I
they
see.
can live in the upper unit, rent the lower unit out, and they'll have more than enough to pay their mortgage and have some cash flow in their pocket.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
But you pay that thing down in 10 years, okay? And then once it's paid off, you move out of that one and you do it again.
Yeah.
Another FHA. So now you got that 2-flat bringing you both rental units because it's paid off. Then you go do it again.
Yeah.
With another 2-unit, 3-unit, or 4-unit.
Okay. Now, how would you, let's say for a property like that, what determines what a fair rent should be?
So you got to look at the neighborhood, and you got to look what comparable units are going for. What I like to do is go to either Zillow or Hot Pads and just put in the zip code, and it'll pull up a map. Look around that area where those houses are or those apartments are, and you got to look at what your competition's at. I always try to make my houses a little bit nicer than the next guy's, just because then maybe the people will stay there longer, and you get a better quality of tenant.
That sounded like somebody was racing back there.
I know, right? Now, another thing is Airbnb. Do you have any experience with that, or what's your opinion on that?
So I personally don't have experience with it yet, but I'm working on my first one. I know a lot of people have been successful in doing it. Michigan City, you can do short-term rentals. Everything's allowed there. A lot of communities are stopping the short-term rentals. I know a guy that did it in Chicago in a condo for a long time, and he was getting a ton of money renting out his condo for 1 night, 2 night.
Yeah.
But almost all the condos have put an end to the Airbnb. You have to have a 1-year minimum lease.
I see.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So you said you were just starting at Airbnb. So Airbnb's been around for I don't know how long. So what just got you started to doing it now?
So I picked up a property that's in a pretty good location. It's close to a lot of tourist things, and I got a good price on it, so I figured I'd try it on that one. The thing that scares me on it is the amount of maintenance or the amount of work that you're going to have to put in there to manage those reservations and to get the cleaning and everything set up. But, a lot of people are doing it, and they're successful in it.
I see. So before we move on to the PowerPoint, is there any other advice you have for someone who's, let's say they're getting their first duplex to start investing? Is there any other pieces of advice you have?
I would say get something newer if you could, at least when I say newer, 1950s, 1960s and beyond.
Oh,
because
wow,
if you go into the early 1900s, a lot of the electrical is old. And
yeah, you're
that's
right about
that.
I would think even the 50s and 60s would be too old.
50s and 60s still had decent wiring.
Wow, okay.
Compared to, like, it's called knob and tube wiring that you see in the early 1900s, and a lot of older houses still have it in there. It's a fire hazard.
I know in Crown Point, especially by the square, a lot of those houses are built before the 1950s.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some old ones over there.
Yeah, so that's one thing I don't like to mess with is old wiring.
Okay.
Yeah, plus you gotta spend a bunch of money for remodeling. So yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. But I will say, let's go back to the PowerPoint. So it's saying change in mortgage payment. So if you look at it, it's change, honestly.
Yeah, so the interesting thing on that chart, and it shows what happens when the mortgage rate goes up, how the guy's payment changes. So if you look, when the interest rates were 2.73, his payment was 12.21. When the interest rate goes to 5.27, where it is today, that same payment 16.60.
Wow.
So a little, 2-point raise in the rate raised his payment $200 a month,
Man, yeah.
and that's on a $300,000 purchase.
Or 1,200 to 1,600. Wow.
Yeah, so we're predicting it's
is-
going to go to 5.5 by October, and that's going to raise it another $100. So every time
Right.
it goes up a little bit, it makes a big difference on what you can afford.
I
That's
see.
basically what we're showing here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now I know. So this says loan amount of $300,000. I think the average home price now is. I want to say it's above 400,000.
It depends what area you're looking at. Average varies, but maybe that's the nation
Yeah, I
average,
think so, yeah.
national average.
Yeah, but that's very interesting though.
All right, and the next slide we got too is the recession doesn't equal a housing crisis. Wait, no, we actually talked about this early on. So, yeah, if we can pull it up real quick, I'll pull it up real quick. If you just look at the numbers, the main thing I want
Right.
to see is obviously you see 2008 was one of the biggest hitting years for the housing market. So,
Yeah. So, but all the other times we had recessions, the housing prices went up. So that just shows you, 4 out of the 6, they all went up, and the one that went down was 1.9%, and the one that went down 19.7, that was abnormal, and that was because of the lender's practices more than the recession.
So it seems like the real estate market is definitely. It seems like it's more resilient versus investing in stocks.
Yeah.
It's not as drastic swings down and stuff.
And that's why I went to it and never went back.
Right. That makes sense.
yeah, and I see kind of now if you kind of compare the two for what we are now for 2008. 2008 was mainly because of the housing things of the nature. And this year is more of the stock market and cryptocurrency just taking over and then just going straight up so fast last year or two and then going straight down.
But now at the same time, let's say you don't have to deal with the huge crashes like with the stock market in real estate, but in real estate that also would probably imply that you're not going to get the same amount of gains. You're not going to get the huge bull markets that you get in the stock market.
Yeah, I would say for the most part it's more of a slow and steady raise. But the thing I like about it is you're getting cash flow. Whereas when you're holding the stock, you might get some dividends. But this
a lot of it relies on appreciation of the stock price. Yes, right.
this you're making money with the rents all year long, and it's cash flow for you. So
Yeah, that's very true with the rent because every first of the month you're going to get what 800 to 1,200 from 2-3 people, if that. So
it's good cash flow, and being in the real estate, it's nice to have that cash flow because if you sell less houses, you still got your cash flow. So it's a good combination.
Okay.
all right, and the next thing I'm looking at, it says average days on the market. So there's a whole bunch of it's a map of the
No, not
entire
that
country with a whole bunch of dark blue, and darker blue.
Yeah. So what that's showing is how long the houses have been sitting on the market.
Oh, okay.
And the dark blue is 15 to 30 days, and the lighter one is 31 to 45 days. So the houses haven't been sitting on the market long. They've been selling real quick. And when you think about it, it takes a lender usually 30 days just to do a loan. So they're selling pretty fast.
And I'm looking at this. No way. Is this Alaska with the days only being 15 to?
Yeah.
Who's living in Alaska?
There's a lot of people that like that Alaska.
Actually, I was going to say I'm surprised that places like California or New York don't. Well, I guess California or New York, they don't have as fast selling times as some of the other states. I would think they would be the fastest selling.
Yeah.
No, I feel like states like Texas, Arizona. So a lot more people are starting to move to those states.
Yeah, especially now. I would say as of the past year, maybe it's Texas. I know Texas and Arizona are big ones, and Florida. I think Tennessee's a big one too. I want to say.
Yeah, I see Texas, those states going up a little bit more. But man,
Now, I think I've looked up before what state has the fastest appreciating real estate, and I want to say Arkansas was like in the 1 or 2.
I had that chart and I didn't print it, but I think it was somewhere in Florida
Oh,
was the number one.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I don't know about Arkansas. It was probably up there too.
okay. But yeah, this is interesting.
Cool. So the next chart we actually have too.
Yeah,
If
that's
you all-
funny. Alaska's one of the.
That's insane. Like
Yeah, that's funny.
for people who live in Alaska, I'm sorry, but why do you live there? But next thing we're gonna go to next chart we have is the single family housing units completed.
Oh, this one.
So this one has a whole bunch of colors.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
All right. So what that's showing is how many new houses they're building, and that line
Okay.
across the top shows the trend line, and that's the average annual units completed. So that's where we want to be, is making that many houses a year.
Mm.
But if you look, they were making right before the crash. They were building way too many houses,
Yeah.
That's where the
which
orange-
contributed
yeah.
to that crash as well. Because
Right.
now not only do we have all these people foreclosing, but we have all this new construction at the same time, and it all
Yeah.
just fell apart. But right now, we've been building up, and we're right there at that line where we should be.
Okay, I see. So now, if anything, I would think, we've been saying over the past couple of years that demand is still strong.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that all the units that the supply they kind of oversupplied the market, right? You think that would help the strong demand in the years following. But,
Yeah, I think it eventually balanced out, and
Yeah.
there's more people buying houses now.
Yeah.
I think that the millennials and everything started buying when the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic hit, so we just had a lot more buyers in the market.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and looking at the chart, hopefully it go back to like around
Yeah. So
the 80s, 75 to 80 range soon. Next couple 5-10 years maybe. Hopefully.
So this is like another indicator that the housing market's really not. It's not like it's too hot right now.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like I said, there's still right enough houses.
And let's go back to where was the chart that showed this? I think this one. Right, like
Which one is this one for the audience?
the one that where it showed the years and it showed when the housing prices went down. So that was the one with the red and green. This one right here. So in other words, 2008, of course, right?
Yeah, that's the recession doesn't equal a housing crisis.
Yeah.
Josh.
Right. So then the other one was 1991, right? And in that year, we still weren't that high.
Yeah,
See, we were only right on average.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the recession was. What caused the recession in 1991? I don't recall.
I don't think there's a stock market crash at that time. I know there's a stock crash in '87, but I thought the '90s was a strong economy, so I'm not entirely sure.
Well, 91 was more than likely an impact of what happened on in the 80s. So whatever happened in the 80s was more probably so far.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What happened in 1991 is the question of the day.
We'll have to look up what caused
what caused the recession, or what was the recession in 1991?
Yeah.
All right, and I think the last chart we have is the active listings increased for the first time in 6 months. So,
Okay.
Vince, can you break that down for us too?
Yeah, so active listings is the houses that are on the market, and that's the number of houses that were on the market. So you see, all the way back to September, it kept going down, the number of houses on the market, because they all kept selling, and there wasn't enough new listings coming on. Now, for the first time, we saw a little bit of an uptick, 376 to 382 from February to March, and we saw a little bit more that's not on the chart going into June of this year. But, again, we're still at less than 2 months inventory, and 5 months inventory is kind of a neutral market, 5 to 6 months inventory, and we're at around 2 to 3 months inventory. Actually, we're in Indiana, we're at about 1.5 months inventory right now.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's still not enough houses.
Right.
Huh, not bad. Interesting.
All right, now Josh, do you have access to those two other slides that I sent you?
Of course, darling. Of course, now. Okay, so the first one would be appreciation, Michigan City and LaPorte, Indiana. So if any of our listeners that is in Michigan City, LaPorte, make sure you stay tuned for this one. So here you go.
Yeah, so a lot of people have been putting money into Michigan City, Indiana. It's in the northwest corner of Indiana. It's right by Lake Michigan, so you can get a boat dock there. You got beaches there. You got a blue chip casino there.
Yeah.
You got now a high-speed train getting built to take you from Michigan City to downtown Chicago in less than an hour. So a lot of people are dumping money into Michigan City right now, and this shows basically from 2013 to 2022, how the housing prices have been going in Michigan City.
Wow.
We're showing an 81% since 2002 in appreciation there.
Wow.
And the nice thing about Michigan City is you can get houses that are ready to rent there for under $150,000.
Oh, okay.
You can get them that need to be fixed up for $50,000 and fix them up too if you've got that kind of talent.
Not bad, not bad. Well, looks like if you do want to start getting into houses, Michigan City and LaPorte might be the way for you. But real quick, we're gonna take our last break real quick before Stock Talk with Josh and Niko. So please be back here, Stock Talk with Josh and Niko.